Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining this evening. We'll start in a couple of minutes. Just waiting for a few people to attend. But thanks for joining us on this Wednesday evening, our first webinar of this year. Anya, would you be able to just make me host, please, so I can just let people in? That's all right. I don't think I can do that right now. You don't mind? That'd be great. And can I just check that everyone can see my screen? Okay. Maybe just use the chat function to let me know. That would be great. And everyone can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Right, it's just ticked over, I think, 18:32. So let's get started. So thanks for joining this evening. Our first webinar of this year is all about embracing technology in private practice for this year, for 2026. And what we'll talk you through today is about how technology can help drive growth and also help enhance the patient experience within your private practice. So let's get started. So we've done these webinars now for almost 2 years. They're all available to view, and we've got the recordings available. So we've touched on all the different aspects of running, setting up, launching, planning, all those things that you need to think about when you're running a private practice. So we're trying to help you avoid common pitfalls and mistakes. We want to help you save time and money. Often, doing things in the wrong order or spending money where you don't need it. And also helping you, get up and running as soon as possible so that you can start to see those revenues and those patients coming in. So lots to cover. Since I think March 24th, we did the first one of these. So like I said, we've done 20 in total. A whole host of these are available. So if you're interested in paying less tax this year, or you want to think about branding your practice, or even thinking about exiting and maybe retirement and how you can phase into that kind of next phase of your career, then those topics we've covered them all. So, and there's more to come this year. If you're not familiar with Designated Medical, we are a full service consultancy for private practitioners and private healthcare clinics. So our job is to help you launch, grow, and succeed in private practice. And we have a whole team of experts covering a whole multitude of different disciplines. From, I head up the strategy team. Dion, who you'll meet in just a second, heads up our medical operations team, which covers CQC, practice management. She covers medical PAs, and increasingly we're seeing kind of technology come into our world, and we want you to embrace it, and we want you to enjoy the benefits of utilizing that technology in your private practice. I will pass you over to Dion in just a couple of seconds. But Dion and I have worked together previously, and we've joined Designated Medical over the last couple of years. Dion heads up our medical operations team. So you'll be very familiar with her and the webinars that we run, because this isn't her first time on a webinar of ours. I'm the CMO at Designated Medical. I specialize in health and wellbeing startups. So I've been spending the last 6 years helping doctors plan, launch, and set up and succeed in private practice. So you'll be familiar with me if you've been on these webinars before. So today we are covering the power of new technologies and how you can embrace them in private practice. And then we're going to look at all the different benefits they can provide you with. And there has been, I think, in the market, certainly with our clients, a kind of reluctance to embrace technology. There's people that are perhaps a little bit kind of scared of it and don't quite know what it's going to do and how they can engage with it. So we're going to try and encourage you today to embrace it this year, this year being the year that you do that. So things we're going to cover today: online booking. So something really simple, which is allowing patients to book online and the benefits that will bring. We are increasingly, and we're about to trial a new 24/7 medical PA service, AI generated. So that idea of thinking beyond the traditional Monday to Friday, 9 to 5:30 or clinic hours, and actually having the ability to answer patient queries and book appointments 24/7, evenings, weekends, early mornings, oftentimes when patients actually want to book rather than Monday to Friday. We'll look at the various AI tools that are available to you and how they're starting to make inroads into private practice and the benefits that you can see from that. We'll talk about messaging and the ability to remove some of that manual work and develop kind of automated messaging. And then patient portals. And something we're seeing develop over the course of this year will be putting the power of looking after people's kind of like own health and their appointments and their test results, and really gaining control of their own health by allowing them to access patient portals rather than calling up the clinic to ask for results or appointment times, something which is more of the traditional model that we hope we'll see sort of phased out over the course of the next few years. So that's what we're going to cover today. So there's a lot of ground to cover, and Dion's going to cover quite a bit of this with me. But to start with, we'll talk about sort of setting the scene, really. And our partners, Semble, who we work very closely with, have recently done some research that they've published. We'll send this deck out afterwards, but there's a link at the bottom of this page which has some of the information and some of the results. So some really interesting results from over 2,000 patients in the UK research last year. 24%, almost a quarter, are already using AI tools such as ChatGPT for health guidance. They are willing to use AI and social media instead of being seen face-to-face by a doctor. They don't feel in control of their health, and many of them will leave appointments and be wondering about the next steps. So it's almost 2/3 of people there are not clear about, okay, well, I've had that consultation with the doctor, what do I do next? And I think a key point here is that all of us are embracing technology in terms of AI, especially. I think it's becoming much more mainstream in our everyday lives. So whether we're booking holidays or looking for Christmas presents, or we're controlling our banking, whatever it may be, we are looking at technology to make our lives simpler. And why wouldn't they want to do the same with healthcare? And it seems strange that healthcare is a little bit behind the curve, but I think we'll see that change over the course of the next couple of years. But there is a disconnect, and I did allude to this at the start of the presentation, that why aren't private practitioners and practices really embracing and engaging in technology? Well, there's a few reasons for that, and some of the common themes that we hear are there are legacy systems. Things have always been done a certain way, and it's quite difficult to bring change. When you've got a team of people that you're running within your private practice, to bring in new systems and new ways of doing things is often difficult, and people are always resistant to change. There's also a real lack of knowledge, and hopefully today's webinars and the ones we've been running over the course of the last couple of years are starting to make you realize, the power of these technologies and how they can benefit you. So there's no need to be scared of them. We're also familiar that there's quite a lot of legacy, kind of older practice management systems that really lack the capabilities for online booking, or whether it's AI. And we would encourage our clients to be looking at the more up-to-date and modern systems that do really engage with technology and give you so many different options in terms of your clinic, but also delivering a patient experience. There's often a fear of well, if I embrace technology, I'm losing that personal touch. My patients like the old way of doing things. They like to speak to me on the phone, or well, that may be true, but actually in most cases we see that is not true, because patients want simplicity. They don't want to be wasting 60 minutes of their lunch hour calling up a practice to try and book an appointment. They'd rather use that time to do something else. So there is a disconnect, but standing still is not an option. And this is something we're really going to be pushing this year, because we really can see the difference and the benefit that it's going to bring private practices and private practitioners. So, when you look at that sort of Monday to Friday, 9 to 5:30, and there's missed calls, and we can see the reports, that's a missed revenue opportunity. So patients being put on hold for 15-20 minutes during the day or during their lunch hour, when they get time to kind of call up to try and book an appointment or get test results, that's a missed revenue opportunity. Your teams are being caught up doing admin heavy tasks that technology could do much quicker and much better and much more consistently. This would free up your medical PA or a practice management team to actually be doing things that really add value to your practice. And that's a constant theme within this presentation. Inefficiency, doing things the old way isn't efficient. There's ways in which we can, bring in technology to improve efficiency, reduce costs, and improve product profitability of your clinic. No shows, people getting tired of waiting, people are not getting good responses. This is, it's not only a missed revenue opportunity, but it's also lost clinician time. It's a waste of their time sitting there waiting for a patient to turn up. And ultimately, like in every walk of life, if we're not happy with the response and we're not happy with the service that we get as consumers, in private healthcare, we can go elsewhere. It's different to the NHS. People want a good experience. They want a quick response. So we really need to be thinking about private healthcare as a private business. This isn't the NHS. It's very different. So hopefully some strong arguments there that, standing still, doing things the old way is not really an option as we enter this year. So there is a better way forward. And before Dion starts to sort of tell you about some of the technology that we're seeing and using at Designated Medical, there is a chance to start thinking about technology that enhances care. It's not about replacing humans. It's about trying to improve things. That idea of shifting away from Monday to Friday, in most cases, patients are working, during those hours. Why would they want to be taking time out of their working day to book appointments? It's, we see appointments coming in at, online bookings for 11 p.m. at night, sometimes 3 o'clock in the morning. So having that 24/7 service is a mind shift that everyone needs to make. It's about reducing admin and improving the patient experience, not reducing empathy or removing empathy with the patient. It's about helping your staff, helping your teams, giving them more value and more enjoyment in their roles, improving the patient experience, and ultimately, all of these things. If you're running a private practice, it's a private healthcare business. So it's in your interest to try and improve efficiency and improve the profitability of your clinic. So some strong arguments there. And Dion, I'm going to pass you over to you now just to talk through some of the different technologies. So over to you.
Thanks, Simon. Hi, everyone. So, just before I start, I just want to touch on a couple of things. So, we're going to go through some ways of introducing software that's going to help you and your practice. But it's really important to note that at Designated, we've really looked into the data to try and figure out what are the right ways to try and introduce things such as AI. I know it's a scary sounding thing to bring in, but we've really looked at what will enable you to make more money, have more time, and your patients to be happier. So all of the things we're going to talk about are all backed up by data that we've looked at across all of our clients and the needs of every different type of practice. So it's all really, really relevant to any speciality and any type of independent practitioner, I guess. So the first is obviously quite obvious. It's not a shocker. It's online booking. So online booking and prepayments. As Simon's already mentioned, we know that patients like to book outside of your normal working hours, the weekends, the evenings. In fact, we sometimes get calls at midnight. So there are definitely ways that you can improve the booking process for those people who are looking to have a bit more freedom. Private patients are moving away from the NHS mindset. So they're now expecting effortless access at their fingertips, like they do with the rest of their digital lives, like their banking, their fitness apps. So online booking and upfront payments will allow them to do that. They can choose an appointment that suits them. It's on their terms. They're not just getting an appointment that they're given. It works for their schedule. And it also frees up your team. So that constant pressure of answering the phone that we've all had and chasing payments, I think has to be the most frustrating task that most practices will face. You're chasing and chasing and chasing for just one payment, and that might take days, weeks, sometimes even months. So online booking and upfront payments can really, really change the way that your practice works. So traditional pathways, we've got the traditional pathway for a patient on the left, and we've got the new version on the right. Now, when you look at the differences, it's pretty predictable. It's pretty understandable. Why would you choose to not take upfront payments to streamline your workflows, reduce inbound calls, and give your team enough time to be able to really um, enhance the patient's experience? Because at the end of the day, the patient walking away happy is the thing that's going to bring you back more revenue. So the power of AI. So again, scary. If you aren't a tech person, which I'm definitely not, I have to say I was very against all use of AI. And now I'm an avid fan. So I have seen firsthand how it can help just me and my personal life, but also the business, and we use it across the board at Designated. We like to empower our team to try new things. And so, how can you try new things? Phone answering, I guess, again, not a shocker. And we've all heard, those really awful robotic answer phone messages. And I think everybody thinks that the AI is going to sound like that. And don't get me wrong, there are some on the market that do. So picking a really, really good provider is really important. Online bookings and payments, what we've already talked about. Transcription, I'm sure a lot of you are already using Heidi if you're fans of Symbol, and other AI transcription services that are just making life so much easier. In fact, I've heard doctors telling me that since using Heidi, their clinical notes are even better than they ever were before, and that their letters are now superb. So they've gone from pretty average to superb, which I think speaks for itself. We're using AI more and more with CQC compliance, and it's really, really freeing up people's time. Patient queries 24/7, as we've already touched on. There's someone to answer the phone at the weekends. And the great thing about it is it can have multiple conversations going at the same time. So if you've got three calls coming in, your human person can only answer one of those. The AI can answer all three. So there's a real reason to be trialing within your practice, one or two, or maybe even all of these things. Lost revenue, obviously not something that anyone really wants, but when you look at the losses, they can be huge. So 70% of our patients prefer to call. We recently actually transitioned a client over to online booking, and they were really concerned that it wouldn't be utilized. It's only been up and running a few months, and already it's over 50% utilized by the patients, and that's changing every day. 30% of patient calls are missed. And as you can see at the top, 2.5K. That is a lot. That's 30K per year that could be going in your pockets, but is getting lost because we're not answering those calls. So 2.5K again in your pocket. We can eliminate the missed calls. We can increase the revenue. And what you've also got to remember here is that patient satisfaction, which inevitably is what's going to drive your business, will double. People will walk away, they will feel seen and heard and happy, and they will share that experience online or verbally. And again, this is all going to help towards your revenue goals. So at the moment, it almost sounds stupid not to. So we thought you might like to hear some AI. We've got Paul, who is our medical PA. He sounds natural. Natural as a robot can sound, but they're getting better every day. And trust me, I've heard lots and lots of these, and some of them are absolutely awful. So you can change the voice, you can have different tones, you can even change their accent. So it really is something that can be in line or aligned with your practice and how you like to present yourself, whether you want to be formal, more professional, really warm and engaging. You can literally decide how your AI would answer the phone and speak to your patient. So why don't we have a listen to Paul and see what you guys think?
Hi, you are speaking with Paul at Radiant Clinic. How can I help you today?
Hi, this is Felix Geilert. I wanted to book an appointment with the doctor.
Could you spell your last name for me, please?
Sure, it's Geilert.
Is that Geilert?
Yes.
Great. Felix Geilert. What brings you in today?
I wanted to book an appointment with the doctor for my cold.
Thanks for letting me know. Have you been a patient with us before, Felix?
No, I haven't.
All right, Felix. Could I have your phone number to set up your appointment?
Sure, it's 151124567
Thanks for the number 0151 124 5678. When would be the best time for you to come in for your appointment?
I was thinking tomorrow morning, maybe at 8 o'clock straight.
I'm checking availability for tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock now. Is there anything else I should note down for the doctor before I proceed?
Yes, I have a quite running nose, so if you can prescribe me something for that, that would be great.
Got it. I'll note your quite runny nose for the doctor. Just to confirm, you're booking an appointment tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for your cold with Felix Geilat and the phone number 0151 124 5678. Is that correct?
Yes, that sounds correct.
Your appointment is all set for tomorrow at 8 a.m. Is there anything else I can help you with today?
No, that's it.
Thank you for calling. Have a great day.
Dion, anything you want to add there?
Not really. I think that Paul said it all. He's said enough. I think it is important to note that you can decide how he interacts. So you can set it that he uses only their first name, or you can use their full name or their surname. You can literally pick everything that, every pathway that he chooses to go down. So that's just an example and a snapshot. So that you can really listen to how he sounds or how they sound.
And Dion, just worth touching on this because obviously it's been something you and I have been working on together for the last 6 months. But not only do they have the ability to to obviously answer questions that will be on your website, your FAQs, pricing, anything obviously medically related would be pushed back to the doctor. But also the ability to take payments. So it's not just about booking appointments and rescheduling appointments, but actually taking payment over the phone and taking those bookings, as we said, out of office hours is a real huge step forward.
Yeah. And booking those appointments and taking payments is massive. And actually a real game changer, I think, for most clinics, especially at the weekends.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Dion.
Hi.
Oh, no, he's back again.
He's too keen.
If none of you have heard that before, then hopefully it's sort of been reassuring to hear that, okay, we even a year ago that technology wasn't available, so it's really moving quickly, and we anticipate that it'll improve in leaps and bounds this year as well. So do speak to us, and we'll leave our details at the end if you want to explore it more and have your own demo. Alongside that, so we've kind of covered now online booking, we've covered AI and the impact that can have, and we've only really looked at the medical PA there. We're not looking at AI in terms of communication with patients and the various tools that you can be using outside of that. We touched on Heidi as well. Automated patient communications is also a big area, and if you're using one of the more modern kind of like patient management systems, it can really take the weight of communication off your hands and your medical PA's time. So you can be sending the right message at the right time for the patient, and it can be fully automated. So that idea of confirmations, reminders, those things can all be set up. It's all pre-planned. It's just really mapping out that patient journey, thinking about what communication you want to send at the appropriate times. This can obviously help you in terms of improving outcomes and experience, and leave patients when they finish that appointment feeling that they've been on that a really, really positive journey, and they know exactly when their appointment is, what's expected of them in terms of the follow-up, is there any tests involved. All of these things can be can really help the patient. So what we typically recommend, and when we work with clinics, is this idea of a kind of patient journey audit. And we would always look at your current patient journey and look at, okay, well, what do I want my patient journey to look like in the future? And we break it into kind of 3 kind of core stages. Really is that pre-consultation stage. So when you're marketing your practice and you're perhaps using Google Ads, or you're using search engine optimization or email marketing, what is that first touch point with a clinic where perhaps they would like a discovery call? What are the communications you want to send out post-discovery call? How can you encourage them to book? All of that can be pre-planned and kind of automated. You can also send out, reminders, so to make sure there's a reduction in no-shows, and they can be timed at certain times. Again, you can plan that into a system. So the more sophisticated, modern practice management systems allow this. Then also things like on the day, if you're doing video consultations, patient greetings, reminding them 30 minutes for pre-consultation, sending them instructions, and then post-consultation too. So those all-important summary letters, those next steps, courtesy emails going out 48 hours after the consultation to just check everything's okay. Are they clear with what their next steps are? And then you move on to perhaps the next appointment and follow-up reminders, as well as things like newsletters and blogs and useful info that they may find valuable post-consultation. So, something that you can do on your own, of course, or something that you may want us to help you with, or your medical PA can help you with. But a really good way of, once that work's done and that plan's in place and you've agreed that copy, and again, AI can help you with the copy, with the tone of voice and what you want to say by briefing it properly. It can really speed up and improve the efficiency and the patient experience at your clinic. A kind of extension of that is patient portals, and you'll all be familiar with patient portals and how the ability to log in and look at test results. This is something we're seeing come through as a really strong theme this year. I know, for instance, that we met with Semble just before Christmas, and this is something that's on their roadmap for this year, where patients will be able to log in, access results, look at their notes at any time, look at their previous consultations that they've had, be able to book follow-up appointments or additional appointments, perhaps with a nutritionist. Or now the reason for this is that all of a sudden a patient feels they're in control. They log into their app, they're able to look at their results, they're able to book appointments, and that reduces the number of those inbound calls coming in Monday to Friday when you've got your medical PA team there. So that frees your team up to actually be getting on with tasks and projects that can add real value to your practice as you evolve and develop over time. And really, it's about also the benefit of developing greater trust and transparency with the patient as well. So why would they want to, sit on the phone again, going back to that idea of, calling up to ask for their test results to be read out over the phone, to be emailed to them, where actually they can just log in and do it anytime they like through a patient portal. So anticipate this being a real growth area this year, and something you should certainly be embracing when it does come through, if you're not already doing it, that is. Okay, we've touched on this a little bit separately today around the medical PA, what your medical PA will be doing. And I think there is a shift happening, and we're seeing it happen month in, month out right now, where the technology is enabling your medical PA to free up their time from these time-heavy admin duties, to start wearing different hats within your private practice and starting to take on mini projects, that perhaps things that you've been wanting to do for the last kind of couple of years but never really had the resources to do it. Well, your team, your medical PA or your practice management team, can be trained up to be doing things like helping you develop and grow your private practice. Maybe there's some new services that you want to develop. Maybe you want them to start doing your social media channels. Perhaps you may want to be sending out newsletters or to be doing webinars. They can be no longer your medical PA, but really your private practice consultant that combines medical PA skills along with marketing, finance, and patient communication. So there's a real opportunity here for medical PAs to upskill and develop and start to use some of the tools that we see on this page. And this is definitely a trend that we're seeing this year. So I think that's everything for this evening. We'll just quickly touch on the takeaways, but hopefully it's been a useful session, and we do have time for a Q&A. So if you're keen to ask us some questions, then we're around for the next kind of 10-15 minutes. But I think hopefully we've demonstrated today that this year is really the year to start to, if you're not already, to be embracing technology and look at the benefits for your clinic, but also your patients. We're seeing that clinics that are embracing this technology and have done over the course of the last 12 months are really starting to gain an advantage ahead of the competition. And increasingly, we are seeing month in, month out, a huge surge in the number of private practices opening up across the board. So competition is becoming more fierce. So one thing we haven't really talked about today is costs and barriers. And I think you'll be surprised that actually the costs to using this technology are significantly lower than perhaps people think from the outset. Online booking, I think Dion made a really strong argument today around it really is a must for every private practice. And we know there's a reluctance to embrace this, but we anticipate that all our clients will be moving to online booking over the course of the next 12 months. And I think this is, the idea of there's a really good argument for this, because not only is it going to help your commercial performance of your clinic, so you're going to be able to drive more revenues, that missed revenue that we talked about earlier, but also that efficiency within the clinic will reduce your costs and improve your profitability. But ultimately, that's not at the expense of the patient experience. Your patients are going to benefit too. And ultimately, if you are employing a medical PA, you can really start to train them up and get them to really be adding huge value to your practice, rather than doing those mundane admin duties that perhaps been something that they've done in the past. So that's enough from us this evening on today's presentation. We hope that's been useful. Do we have any questions? We've put a couple in here that which we received over the course of the week, but if there's anything that anybody would ask, please do unmute yourselves or pop something in the chat. Dion, is there anything you get challenged with? I know you've been talking to a lot of our clients about.
I think, yeah, there's a couple of things. I think GDPR compliance is obviously really important to everybody. And it's important to note that each software has different compliance regulations depending on what sector they're in, where they're located. So you'd find that the GDPR and regulatory systems for a UK-based company would be very different to an American-based company. So you do need to do your due diligence, and that's why we say it's really important that you pick a good provider, which we're happy to help with. The other thing I would say is AI replacing people. So that is a huge question, and that's mainly probably from staff as well as our clients. And I think again, it's not about replacing anybody, it's about making your team stronger. So we'll be offering a hybrid of AI and human person working together as a team, which is brilliant. You're going to have all of the benefits of both, and it's really important that you still have that human element to your practice. So I don't think AI is going to be replacing anybody. And you can definitely still have a human medical PA working alongside your AI.
And just to touch on that, Dan, I think one of the conversations you and I've had this week is about the ability. There's not like a one size fits all kind of like there is the ability ultimately for you to describe what is the patient experience you want to deliver at your practice, and then how can you blend your human medical staff, whether that's your practice manager, your medical PAs, with the technology, including AI, to deliver the experience that you want. So whether that's actually a human first service, so when someone calls up, the first thing they get is actually speaking to your medical PA, and then actually you've got the technology in the background after hours and at weekends and evenings to kind of support you. Or you can have more of a digital first approach, where actually if you want to speak to a human, you've got through to the AI, they've answered a couple of questions, but actually you still want to speak to that medical secretary, then you have the ability. So it all really comes down to you and the patient experience and how you want it to work. And then for us or for you to work out how you can utilize that technology to the best effect. Good. Well, thanks everybody. Dion, thank you for your time this evening. I know you've been doing a lot of webinars recently, so
you're all going to be sick of seeing me.
But no, it's been I think hopefully a really interesting session. We're always keen to hear your feedback, so do let us know. Should you want to find out more, should anything that you've heard this evening kind of perk your interest, then do get in touch with us at info@designatedmedical.com. We'd be happy to have a chat. We offer a free 45-minute consultation where we can discuss your individual circumstances and your plans and ambitions and how we might be able to help and guide you. Also, we've got a private practice WhatsApp group, so that's on the link here. You can join that. We've got a good number of people that are on that who've been enjoying, and we try to encourage people to share experiences. And obviously, we've got a whole load of webinars coming up this year. So next month is all about profitability, I think, is our next webinar. So that idea of a profit first practice in 2026. There'll be some of the themes we've touched on today around technology, but I think also we want to talk about the idea of smart finances, so the ways in which you can manage your finances better. We'll be touching a lot on marketing as well in this session, where we'll be talking about, okay, how do I grow my patient base? How do I utilize marketing? How do I find the right blend of marketing to increase the number of inquiries so that I can grow and be a successful private practice. So that's after half term towards the end of February. No doubt I'll be there. I think Dion may be there as well, but we'll hopefully see you at that one, if not before. And there is our contact information. Should you have any questions, do give us a call or email us. There's a form on our website if you'd like us to call you back. We're pretty responsive. We normally come back to you within 24 hours, and we can point you in the direction of one of the team, and we can take it from there. But until next month, thanks for your time again this evening. Enjoy your evenings, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks for listening. Have a good evening, everyone.